Good morning and happy Easter. Hey, welcome to Northshore. My name is David. We're so glad to have you here.
Oh my goodness.
Man.
Look at all your faces.
So
It's
cool.
so good to see you. Welcome everyone. My name is Samantha. David and I are on staff here. We know several of you're still trying to find your seats, or maybe you've just logged in online, but we are so glad you're joining us today. I don't know about you, but this is our favorite day of the year.
Oh yeah,
Ever.
absolutely, hands down.
Ever. And the reason for that is we get to celebrate the ultimate good news today, right? That the tomb is empty and Jesus is risen.
Yep.
And we are just so excited to see each and every one of you here today.
Yeah, and honestly, it's we've been talking about this and just how exciting this time of the year is for us because we get to celebrate Jesus, and we just so glad that you guys are all here with us in the building, and those of you watching online as well. One of the things that we believe that happens here is that Jesus can change everything for anyone, and I think God is going to do something amazing today.
Yes. And if there's one thing that I know is that this incredible worship team behind me they're ready to go. We can't keep them quiet anymore. So we need all of you to stand to your feet if you can. If you're joining us online, go ahead and get up to your feet. We are about to worship together today.
Hey, Sam, do they look ready to you?
They look pretty ready.
So. Are you guys ready out there? One more
That's
time. Are
pretty
you guys
good.
ready to celebrate out there?
There we
All right,
go.
yeah. Here we go. Awesome. But let's celebrate. Happy Easter,
Happy
everyone.
Easter.
Come on, let's sing it out together. The passion of our Savior. The passion of our Savior. Oh, the mercy of our God. The cross that leaves no question of the measure of His love. Come on, y'all, let's sing it out together. Our chains are gone. Our chains are gone. Our debt is paid. The cross has overthrown the grave. For Jesus' blood that sets us free. It means death to death and life for me. The innocent judged guilty, while the guilty one walks free. Death will be his portion, and our portion liberty. Come on, that's something to celebrate this morning. Let's sing it out. Oh, our chains are gone. Our debt is paid. The cross has overthrown the grave. take your seats and let's watch this video together.
Emang tebak nama berarti. Teraz kita teraz kita go.
So the organization that I work with, Josiah Venture, we are primarily a youth and discipleship focused organization. So our heart is really to raise up, to train and develop the next generation of leaders in Central and Eastern Europe. We've really had to shift in this past month from this youth organization to this humanitarian relief organization. In the early days, as we were trying to figure out how can we get this much needed aid to the hurting people in Ukraine, and how do we get refugees out? And so someone had the idea, let's load up buses, let's shuttle it in. And that's a great idea until you come to the problem of, we need to find a bus driver that is willing to send their business into a war, not knowing if it's going to come back. And initially there was a Polish driver, and he just said, if you'll give me a bulletproof vest and if you pay for my gas, I'll make the trip. That one bus driver in Poland has turned into 3 or 4 Polish drivers and several in Slovakia. And so our team now has done, I think, 42 bus trips across the border. I personally am just humbled and so thankful for how Northshore, the people of Northshore, have taken this stand to, like the Good Samaritan, to say, some innocent person is hurting and in need, and I'm not just going to walk past and ignore this hurting person. To be able to provide for the gas for these bus trips, for the food, the medicine. Northshore's helped provide over 300,000 meals for people inside and outside of Ukraine. That's loving your neighbor. And Northshore, the people of Northshore have and are filling and stepping into this really, really important gap that Europe is facing right now.
Yeah, and that's exactly the kind of church we want to be able to stand in the gap and bring the hope of Jesus wherever we can. In fact, our vision here at Northshore is to be a church together for our neighbors, the next generation, and those in need. And when this entire war broke out over in Eastern Europe, and we saw so many things happening, just heartbroken, we knew we needed to do something. And so we asked you to rise to the occasion, and boy, did you ever. This was one of the most generous things, is that within a matter of just 2-3 weeks, you donated, you gave $130,000. Yeah, $130,000 to help the people over in Ukraine, and you guys are just out of this world generous. So thank you for doing that.
Yes, thank you so much. I mean, I don't really have words at this point, but thank you so much. I love that we get to be a part of what God is doing through generosity. So thank you again. We want to welcome all of you again. I know a lot of you came in at the beginning of worship, so welcome to you all. And of course, everyone joining us online. My name is Samantha.
And I'm David, and we're so excited that you've joined us for Easter service today. Hey, I'm gonna ask you to do me a huge favor, and if you don't mind just reaching forward and grabbing those connection cards in the seat backs in front of you. And it's super important that we do that. And if you're online, you can scan that QR code, because we're gonna do something special with these connection cards, right? And I don't really see a lot of people reaching for them, do you?
They will, because I'm gonna tell you why it's exciting today. So today, every single connection card that gets filled out, we are gonna be donating $5 to the Together For Fund. So all of that money, every single dollar is gonna go directly towards local and global efforts to help communities in need. So I know everyone's gonna wanna fill one out. Again, you can do that in the seat back in front of you or scan the code, but that's pretty cool.
Honestly, like, I'd take 12 of those if I had to, right? Just so that we can just give more.
We'll find you 12.
Yeah, right, find me 12 because honestly, each card is really gonna be able to impact somebody's life and it's really gonna meet a tangible need for them. And so, yeah, please go ahead and do that.
And whether this is your first time joining us or you've been at Northshore for years and years and you haven't filled out a connection card for a really long time, we all get the opportunity to do that today, and I think it's gonna make a big difference. Another thing I wanted to say is welcome to all of you who are joining us for the first time in this room or online. We're so glad you're here today. You can fill out that connection card and check the I'm New box. And if you're on our campus, you can take it out to the guest services table after service, and we have a gift just for you for being our guest today. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, hey, today we're looking back 2,000 years ago because something amazing happened where it would change the entire face of the earth. Like everybody's lives was changed because of what Jesus did for us. And that's why we are here celebrating Easter Sunday, because of what Jesus did. And he continues to change, even though that was 2,000 years ago, he's continuing to change lives even today. And so we thought we'd put together something. And so, yeah, go ahead and take a look at the screen here.
ואחרי מוצאי השבת, כשהאיר לאחד בשבת, באה מרים המגדלית לראות את הקבר. והנה רעש גדול היה, כי מלאך אדוני ירד מן השמיים. ומרים עמדה מחוץ לקבר, והיא בוכייה, ותשקף אל תוך הקבר, ותראה שני מלאכים לבושי לבנים, יושבים במקום אשר שמו שם את גופת ישוע, אחד מראשותיו ואחד מרגלותיו. ויהי ככלותה לדבר זאת, ותאמר אליו, רבוני הוא מורה. ויאמר אליה ישוע, אל תגעי בי, כי עוד לא עליתי אל אבי, הולכי נא אל אחי, והגידי להם. אני עולה אל אבי ואביכם, ואל אלוהי ואלוהיכם. ותבוא מרים המגדלית, ותספר אל התלמידים את אשר ראתה את האדון, וכזאת דיבר אליה.
There was a moment when the lights went out, when death acclaimed its victory. The King of love had given up his life, the darkest day in history. There on a cross they made for sinners, for every curse his blood had done. One final breath and it was finished, but not the end we could have known. For the earth began to shake, and the veil was torn, for sacrifice was made as the heavens roll. Would you stand as we sing this out together? All hail King Jesus, all hail the Lord of heaven and earth, all hail King Jesus, all hail the Savior
He is not dead. He is living. He is alive. He's risen. Okay, you can have a seat. Happy Resurrection Sunday to everybody who's in this room and everyone who's joining us online. And for those of you who are out in the lobby right now, I hope you're enjoying your gourmet breakfast buffet that we provided for you out there in Overflow. So glad that you're with us. So glad that you're here. The first thing that I want to say is no matter who you are or what's going on in your life, you are welcome here. We believe that Jesus died on a cross and came out of that tomb because God wants to be in a relationship with everyone. And so everyone gets welcomed here like family. Even the, awkward uncles out there, and you know who you are. So I hope whether you're here for the first time or you're here week after week, I'm so glad you're here. I hope you feel right at home with us this weekend. And the second thing is, whether you're here in this room or you're watching online, I believe that you're here for a reason. And it's not just because somebody dragged you here or you're being forced to watch this before you can have breakfast. I believe that God has you here because God wants you to experience the power of Easter in your life. It's the same power that's changed literally billions of lives across time and culture and language. It's the same power that's given strength to the weary and peace to the anxious and hope to the hopeless for 2,000 years. And it's a power that you simply cannot find anywhere else, no matter where you look. I was just talking to somebody not long ago who was saying, he's kind of hit a wall after the past 2 years. Anyone else hit a wall after these past 2 years? He felt like he hit a wall relationally and emotionally and spiritually. And so get this, he told me that he had booked the nicest room in the nicest hotel in Hawaii to get away for a week to find some peace and perspective. But then he went on to say that he was already worried that just a trip for a week into a beautiful place wouldn't actually solve all of his problems. And you know what? He was right. It wouldn't. And as a pastor, I felt like I needed to say something to him about that. So I said, I would be willing to stay in that hotel for you. Like as an act of love and compassion, I would do that. And I'm just kidding, I actually didn't say that. But I did tell him that there is a power that is available to you. And it doesn't come from a great vacation or a new habit. That power comes from an empty tomb. In fact, one of Jesus' very first followers, a man named Paul, you know him as the Apostle Paul, wrote much of the New Testament. He once said that the same power that raised Jesus from the dead can actually live in you. Did you know that? Which means the same power that literally brought Jesus back to life can bring you back to life, or your marriage back to life, or your mental health back to life, or your sense of purpose back to life. And to prove it to you, because I know some of you are going, I'm not so sure about that. To prove it to you, in a few moments, you're gonna see real people just like you walk up on this stage and say yes to the life-changing power of Jesus and get baptized. And some of you who are in this room right now, for some of you, that might actually be you, even if you don't know it yet. Because Easter is not just an event we remember, it's a power we can experience in our lives. But there's a catch. There's a catch. And I'm not talking about a catch like, the fine print in those prescription drug commercials. You know what I'm talking about? Where there's someone like skipping along the beach and they look happy and healthy, and it's because they found this new miracle drug, Lufthansa. That's actually a German airline. But anyway, it sounds right. It sounds like one of those drugs. So they're skipping along the beach. They found this new miracle drug. Life's better. Life's great. But then this voice comes on at the end of the ad. You know the voice. It's like at 10 times speed that says, some people who take Lufthansa, their skin falls off and their heart explodes. That's kind of terrifying fine print, right? So that's not the fine print. That's not the catch that I'm talking about. With Easter, the catch is literally a catch. In other words, it's you taking a leap of faith and giving your life to Jesus, not knowing how that's gonna all turn out, and trusting that he's alive and that he'll catch you. Because that's what unleashes the power of Easter in our lives. It's a leap of faith. But of course, taking a leap of faith in life isn't easy, is it? I remember when I was just a kid growing up, when I was little, and my mom was teaching me how to jump off a diving board. And she would swim out into the water, like right below the diving board, and raise up her arms and say, I'll catch you, just jump. But even though she was just a few feet away, I would feel so paralyzed by fear that I would turn back and walk off the end of the diving board, and then I'd walk back out and I'd look at her, and then I'd walk back off the end of the diving board, then I'd walk back out and look at her. And this happened over and over and over until she finally said, Scotty, you can't keep walking off the back of the diving board. You're 35 years old. You're gonna have to jump at some point. Taking a leap of faith in life, in whatever part of life, it's not easy, is it? And this is especially true when it comes to Jesus, not just because Jesus asks us to surrender our whole life to him, but think about it, the story of Easter, the story we're here to celebrate today, that took place 2,000 years ago. So it's natural to have some kind of questions about it. Like, how do I know that the tomb was empty? Like, what proof is there that this Jesus is actually alive? Like, what proof is there? And now, just so you know, there's actually a lot more evidence for the resurrection of Jesus than you might think. For example, when that event happened, there weren't just a few eyewitnesses. There were literally hundreds of people who saw him, talked to him, touched him, had an encounter with him. People who could have refuted the stories that were written in the Gospels if they were made up. And not only that, the very first witnesses at the tomb were women. Now, why does that matter? Well, because in that day, women were considered inferior and untrustworthy. In fact, if you were a woman living in the first century, you wouldn't be allowed to give testimony in a court of law because it wouldn't be considered trustworthy testimony. So think about it. If you were gonna make up a story about a guy being raised from the dead, I mean, that's already pretty hard to believe. If you're gonna make up that story to try to convince people that it's true, the last thing you would do is have women be the key witnesses to the event. But maybe the most compelling evidence, at least for me, is that the very disciples who ran in fear when he was crucified, saying, I'm not gonna go down with that guy. They ran away in fear. Years later, would all give up their lives telling the Easter story. Why? Because it happened. I mean, think about it. People don't give up their lives for something they know to be untrue. So I don't believe that faith in Jesus or believing in Jesus, I don't believe the obstacle to that is a matter of evidence. I think there's actually plenty of evidence. And if you have those kind of questions, we'd love to talk more about it because there's plenty of evidence. I think the main obstacle people have for belief in Jesus is a matter of experience. In other words, I don't think you need another argument for Jesus. I think you need an encounter with Jesus, a real life encounter with him in your life, because that's really the only way to move from doubt to belief. So for the next few moments, I want to take you back in time to part of the Easter story, to this encounter that the risen Jesus had with this man who did not believe. In fact, he refused to believe, at least at first. Some of you may already be guessing who I'm talking about because for 2,000 years, he's been labeled as like the world's greatest doubter. And you know him as doubting. See, everybody knows the story, even if you don't know about the Bible Easter, everybody knows doubting Thomas. I mean, it's kind of sad. I mean, he had this one moment of doubt and he got labeled for like the rest of history. Like imagine if you did one thing wrong and everybody forever like knew that about you. I mean, I can think of all the things that I would get labeled for, my goodness. So I don't like to think of him as doubting Thomas. I like to think of him as legitimate questioning Thomas, you know? Because he had some like legitimate questions. I mean, we all do, don't we? If you think about it, he had some legitimate questions about this whole raised from the dead business. So I'm gonna put a few verses on the screen. We're gonna walk through part of the story together. And when you see words that are written in red, I want us all to say those words out loud together, okay? So this is from the Gospel of John, the Gospel according to John. That's how the story goes. It says, now Thomas, also known as Didymus, that just means twin. So Thomas most likely had a twin brother, one of the 12 disciples, was not with the disciples when Jesus first came to them. So he missed the first experience. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." Thomas, he's not having it. Thomas said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my fingers where the nails were and put my hand into his side," everybody, "I will not believe." I will not. And my guess is that many people you know, a lot of people today, if they're honest, even people in churches today, if you're really honest, can actually relate to this. Maybe you've been a person of faith or a Christian for a long time, but it kind of feels like routine or going through the motions a bit. Maybe you attend Easter, you believe in your head about Easter, but you don't really experience or don't feel like you experience the power of the resurrection in your everyday life. So it feels like, I'm not sure I can believe that. Maybe you've been praying for something or asking God to do something to show up in some real and tangible way, but God hasn't answered you, at least in the way that you wanted. So maybe Easter, it feels like a good news for somebody else, but not for you. Or maybe you've been part of the church a long time. Maybe you grew up going to church, but for whatever reason, feels like church has let you down or Christians have let you down, and you're not sure you want to have any part of this. In fact, I was just reading some research done by a group called the Barna Group. And get this, they found that during the pandemic, get this number, 1 out of every 3 practicing Christians has left the church altogether. Over 30% in 2 years of the church just gone. Now, there's probably a lot of reasons for that data to be true. But I think one of the main ones is what I would call just the Thomas factor. It's people who are saying, look, unless I have like a real life encounter with this God who's supposed to be alive, like unless I experience that in my everyday life, like I'm not just gonna go through the motions anymore. I'm just not gonna believe that. I mean, look at our world, look what's happening. I'm not just gonna believe because I'm supposed to. And if that's you today, I'm so glad that you're here. Because that's Thomas. One of the 12 disciples, he was right there. In fact, he gave Jesus an ultimatum. Unless I see it, I'm not believing it. I'm not recommending that you give ultimatums to the God of the universe, but he was right there saying, I'm not buying it. So what's Jesus gonna say? How is Jesus going to respond? How's he gonna respond? Let's take a look at what happened next. The text says, a week later, his disciples were in the house again, and this time, Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, everybody, peace be with you. Now notice who's looking for who in the story. Thomas, in all his bravado, I will not believe, like in all his bravado, he's not actually searching for Jesus. He's not actually scouring the streets looking for this man. He, like so many skeptics in our day, arms across, sitting back saying, I just don't think I buy this anymore. So Thomas, he doesn't come looking for Jesus. It's Jesus who comes looking for Thomas, and that's the point. You see, friends, you can have all the doubts in the world, all the questions in the world, all the objections in the world, and guess what? Those won't push Jesus away. Because Jesus understands your questions. Remember, he's the only God who has lived 33 years on this planet as a human being. He was rejected by his family and friends. He was mocked and mistreated by the religious establishment in his day. And at the end of his life, he was nailed to a cross, and he didn't say, well, this has turned out well. He questioned God, my God, why have you forsaken me? See, Jesus understands why a human being would reach the point where they'd say, I just can't believe in this anymore. I just can't go there anymore. So you know what he did? Jesus went there for you. He went through suffering and rejection, betrayal and death, and came out of that grave so he could find you in your doubts and questions and say, I've been down that road before. I know that pain. I know that question. I know that loss. I've been there too. And here's the thing, I want you to all look at me for a moment. Just look at me right now. Jesus will not stop searching for you. even if you give up searching for him. Jesus will not stop looking for you, even if you give up looking for him. Some years ago, when I was a college pastor, there was a college student that I met who was like a diehard atheist. In fact, when I met him and I told him I was a pastor, he kind of snickered and said something to the effect of, "I'm sorry." It's kind of humbling when an 18-year-old takes pity on your whole calling in life, right? But he did, but we started having lunch, started getting together, having lunch every so often, and we would talk about everything. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever met. We talked through everything, theology and philosophy and cosmology and cosmetology and all the ologies. Like we covered all of it. And he always had a reason not to believe. And maybe you know someone like that. Maybe that's you today. You always have a reason not to believe. Well, some months later, I invited him to a church service. And at the end of that service, the pastor said, "Hey, if anybody wants to commit their life to Jesus, I want you to stand up and come to the front of the room." And I thought to myself, there's no way that this student's gonna do that. Like, he's a committed, outspoken atheist. And I've told him this story dozens of times. And pastor to pastor, it wasn't even that good of a message, okay? Don't look at me like I'm judging the guy. You guys think this like every week. Like I know, I can tell when you're thinking that. So I get it. But to my surprise, in that moment, my friend, the student, he stood up. And then he walked to the front of the room. And then he got down on his knees. And he committed his life to Jesus, this diehard atheist. And afterwards, I found him, and I kind of asked him, like, what happened? And he looked at me like, aren't you a pastor? Don't you know how this works? Like, what's wrong with you? And he told me, all my life, somewhere deep down, I've been looking for God. But today I realized I didn't have to look for God anymore because God had already come to find me. And guess what? God has come to find you too. And sometimes he finds you in the most unexpected places, like in a church service, even when the message isn't that good. But Jesus isn't done yet. He doesn't stop there. Look at what he does next. Look what he says. He looks at Thomas and he says, "Thomas, put your finger here. See my hands. Everybody, reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Now, I've heard this story for over 40 years, and it wasn't until this past week that I realized how gross this moment is, right? Like, he's like, put your hand like into my side, like into the wound, like, that's disgusting. That violates like every COVID guideline there is, right? Like, that's all of them. But notice in this moment, Jesus is asking Thomas to take a step of faith. Reach out, he says. In other words, get up out of your chair, walk across the room, experience me for yourself, and see for yourself if I'm real. And by the way, that's what we have to do as well. I know you're sitting and watching right now, but faith in Jesus isn't a sit and watch kind of thing. It's not just a Sunday to Sunday kind of thing. It's a get up, it's a reach out, it's a take a risk kind of thing. And Thomas did. He got up to see for himself. And look at what he said when he experienced Jesus in person. Thomas said to him, everybody, "My Lord and my God." That is quite the transformation from "I will not believe" to "my Lord and my God." And by the way, these weren't just nice sounding words for Thomas in the moment. Thomas would spend the rest of his life living out these words. In fact, if you know Thomas's story, he would later travel 3,000 miles to be the first person to bring the story of Jesus to the nation of India, where he reached countless people, planted churches, and was eventually martyred for his faith. Thomas, the doubter, the skeptic, the guy who said, "I will not believe," goes further and reaches farther than any other disciple, because that's what a real encounter with Jesus will do. It will give you something to live for. Even better, it will give you something to die for. Aren't you ready for something more in your life than just binging Netflix or scrolling on your phone? Aren't you ready to encounter Jesus for who he says he is, your Lord and your God, your Savior and your King? Because that's exactly what you'll find if you take that leap. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. Well, this was sure easy for Thomas. I mean, Jesus was right there in the room with him. He got to encounter him in person. He was right there in the room, and you know what? He was. But that doesn't mean that Jesus can't encounter you in this room today. In fact, if you know the story, immediately after this moment, Jesus tells Thomas, by the way, the blessing in this story, the blessing in this moment is not even really for you. It's for the people who will come after you, who never touch my hands or feel my side, but they reach out anyway. It's for people who will live 2,000 years from now. Plumbers and nurse practitioners, artists and app developers, senior executives and single parents who aren't even sure that Jesus is real at all, but they reach out anyway. That's who the real blessing is for, because they, even more than Thomas, will experience in their life just how real and powerful and loving Jesus really is. That's why I'm here. That's why I do what I do. It's because 25 years ago, God found me on the floor of my college dorm room, feeling like I had failed God and I'd lost my faith. Jesus found me and said, I'll catch you, just jump. You don't have to do anything else. Like, I've paid for your sins on that cross, and I walked out of that tomb, just jump. And I did. And he caught me. And he'll catch you too. He will catch you too. But don't just take my word for it. There's a woman in our church named Rachel who was kind of living out her dream life, but in the midst of all that discovered that there was something missing in her life, a sense of joy, a sense of purpose. And so she reached out to find if this Jesus person was for real, and Jesus changed her life entirely. But I want you to hear it from her. So let's take a look at this video.
Life before Jesus was, by all accounts, great. You know, I grew up in Bothell. I have a successful career. I'm an emergency nurse. I married the love of my life. We have 2 healthy kids. My life is not without difficulty, but by all accounts, I was like a healthy, well-adjusted, successful adult. But it didn't make sense to me how the world was shifting towards just all about yourself. And I thought, well, maybe we're not meant to look at ourselves. Like, maybe there's something more than that. I started reading C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity, and I was just in. I think I read it in like 3 days. So that just really showed me a whole picture of a different way of life. Did I tell you what my family said when I said I was going to church? They asked if I burst into flames. This is a little hindsight to my teenage years, you know? I knew Northshore was where I was supposed to be. And so I just started coming. The kids and I started coming. Just us. My husband, he's always fully supportive. It just wasn't something that he was interested in doing yet. I remember at the beginning of my walk with Jesus saying to my husband that Jesus doesn't make any sense until it makes perfect sense. And it was just like being willing to take that step down that road is absolutely life-changing. Over the last 4 years, I've seen Jesus move in my life, but I've also seen Jesus move in my husband's life. I think he has seen in me what Jesus can do, and I think it's been inspiring to him. So my husband started coming with us, and that was really special because in January, my daughter came to me and said, I want to get baptized. And I was like, this is my chance. And so we ended up, both my daughter and I got baptized on January 30th, and my husband and son got to be there to see it. My before perception of Christianity was a bunch of people lacking in joy. Like, they're just like joyless people that are following these rules. And then I have come to like understand who Jesus is, and that there is just this overwhelming joy that comes from Jesus that is just completely different from any other joy you can find in the world. I could look at my whole life with so much more gratitude and just so much more purpose. Sometimes I wish I could scream from the rooftops, like, Jesus is the answer to all of your problems, but I realize I would sound like a crazy person. But I just truly believe, like, anybody that's willing to just start walking in the direction of Jesus, is headed in the right direction. There's nothing better to focus on, put your faith in, than Jesus, and it will, I have no doubt he would change your life.
And I have no doubt. And friends, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that he will change your life too. Because if I can be that crazy person on the rooftops right now, Jesus is the answer to all your problems. He's what you need in that relationship. He's what you need to confront that habit. He's what you need to deal with that shame and regret that's been weighing you down. He's what you need to find real joy in your life, but you have to reach out. You have to take a step. And so I want to give all of you an opportunity to take what may sound like the craziest step of your life. I'm going to give you the chance right now to come forward and say yes to the life-changing power of Jesus in your life by being baptized. Now, I know some of you are thinking, Scotty, like, why would I do that? I'm here with family, like, we have brunch plans, like, come on. But it's like Rachel said, like, Jesus doesn't make sense until it makes perfect sense. And think of all that you've been hoping for, looking for, striving for, and all the ways the world has let you down. But Jesus, he came down from heaven. He lived a perfect life. He died for your sins. He walked out of that tomb. And if that's true, the only rational response is to surrender your life to him. And that's really what baptism is all about. You don't have to have the right clothes. We've got shorts and shirts and towels and private changing areas. You don't have to have the right background. You just have to want to say, Jesus, I want to put my faith in you. And if you're still wrestling through questions or doubt, you're not sure, come on forward. We have pastors who'd love just to talk with you, answer questions for you. And by the way, if you're watching online right now, there's a QR code you can scan. It'll take you to a page where you can sign up to do this right now. You can do it from home right now. But you'll never know that he's real. You'll never know that he's alive unless you jump. And so I want to invite everyone in this room, everyone who's watching, everyone in the lobby, if you would stand to your feet if you're able. Go ahead and stand up. Everybody stand. And in just a moment, I'm going to count to 3. And if you want to be baptized, I'm going to invite you to come forward down to this side of the room, like right over here, right down that sign, right over here is where you're going to go, okay? Some of you are feeling like, I need to do this, but you're afraid or you don't want to, you don't want people to see you. That's the enemy using fear to keep you from what God has for you. Don't listen to it. Be bold today. Take a step in your faith today, because here's the thing. There's no one else that can catch you. There's no one else that can heal you. There's no one else that loves you like Jesus, and he is not dead. He is alive, and he's risen. And his arms are open wide saying, I'll catch you, I'll catch you. Just jump. So church, you ready? Some of you right now, your heart's beating fast. I know you're ready. This is your moment, okay? I'm gonna count to 3, all right? 1, are you ready? 2, it's gonna change your life today. 3, come on forward, take that leap.
Who could imagine so great a mercy? What heart could fathom such boundless grace? The God of ages stepped down from glory to wear my sin and bear my shame. Let's sing together. The cross has spoken, I am forgiven. The King of Kings calls me his own. Beautiful Savior, I'm yours forever. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Sing hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Come on, church. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Oh, Jesus, yours is the victory. we're going to keep singing together and celebrating. And if God is moving in your life and you know today is the day you need to get baptized, come on up. There's still time. There's still space. Don't miss this moment. Let's keep celebrating together. The Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. Everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. And I still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense. So I won't be going under. I'm not held by my own strength, 'cause I build my life on Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful in every season.
What a day it has been. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Congratulations to everyone that got baptized.
Yes.
I still think we have more time. We have more people getting baptized, so it's not too late. If that's something on your heart right now, that tug, that's you. So just head on over that way. We can baptize you even as we are being dismissed after the service.
Yeah.
And maybe if you made a decision to follow Jesus for the first time today, well, I tell you guys, man, I know for me, that was the most impactful decision that I've made in my entire life. I didn't know everything initially, but man, God just really showed up time and time and again. If that's you, if you made a decision today, or have questions about what it means to follow Jesus, you can indicate that on the connection card and someone from our team will reach out to you.
Yeah, and we have team members over there as well. So don't miss this moment. If God is putting something on your heart, a decision that you want to make or a question that you have, we would love to pray with you today. Thank you so much for being here. What a fun and exciting celebration we've had. You're probably wondering why I'm holding a box, because I wasn't holding it earlier. This is your reminder, if you would, to go ahead and fill out that connection card. And if this is your first time joining us, we have these boxes out at the guest services table. So go ahead and take your connection card out there, and we would love to give you this gift. But thank you again so much for being here.
Yeah.
What a day.
Yeah, and hey, feel free to stick around. We're gonna have a couple more baptisms. You can just head in over if you want to get baptized as well. But other than that, thanks again for being here with us on Easter Sunday. Do me a favor, on your way out, turn to somebody you don't know and introduce yourself. Hope to see you guys back next week. See ya.
Happy Easter.